Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Those of you who have grown distasteful of my weather reports, just know that it's fallish winter in the Gem City, so we don't need to do this. It's going to be gray and overcast from now until spring, so there's your weather forecast in perpetuity. Same holds for Columbus, so I won't make Duane go into detail. Duane, how are you this fine morning?
Oh, it's the week. It's here we are. We've been waiting on this since about this time last year, haven't we? So this is huge, Dan. This is what we've been waiting on. It's going to I call it the first big game, really big game that's going to shake up and start to define the playoffs. We're really going to the picture's going to clear up right now this Saturday.
We will go into great detail about the game, and I agree. You're essentially got a playoff game coming up this weekend. We're going to start off with some recruiting chatter. One name that looked like it was going to be very popular among Buckeyes kind of came and went, and that is the name of receiver Alontae Taylor out of Tennessee. Ohio State offered him on the 11th of October. Tony Alford visited, and it does seem like things have cooled. What's your vibe on the Taylor situation? Kind of a weird one.
Yeah, it's one of the more intriguing stories. This is kind of fascinating to me that this kid whose film, I looked at him and I was thinking, how are we just now hearing about this kid? He's explosive. He's football smart. I mean, he's got all the tools. And this is the first we're hearing of him. And no sooner than we hear about him, boom, he's gone. He was offered. He was going to visit this weekend, and now we've gone our separate ways. I just, what in the world happened? And, you could say, well, maybe they found out something they didn't like hearing, or maybe his transcript arrived and they're thinking, no, this isn't going to work. But we also have to look at something. We started seeing a lot of movement with several guys that the one thing that I just cannot step away from is that an even bigger name, we like where we're at with them. And who would that be? Now, it doesn't have to be at the same position, and I don't think it is, because we're not hearing anything. But all of a sudden, we've got a vibe coming from Gayo Tete that, he's very serious about visiting Ohio State and could change his mind even. And that came out even before USC just got taken apart by Notre Dame. They were not looking good this year, all year. I don't know if they had a really good game all year. And then Notre Dame just absolutely dismantles them. The scoring was 49-14, something like that, and it could have been worse. And then Solomon, I have trouble with his last name, Tutupupi.
Hold on a sec. Let's go over this here. We're talking about Pele Gaetoti from Bishop Gorman. And Solomon, long name that starts with the T that we've all followed. I don't want to even try and do it on the radio. Go ahead.
And Togiai is also in there. All three of those kids.
That one I can do. Tommy Togai.
Okay.
Defensive tackle from Idaho.
Tommy Togai, the defensive tackle from Idaho, he seems to be down to Washington and Ohio State, and we're hearing, conversation on that all of a sudden. All three of these guys are you're going to take them without you take them on signing day if they wanted to come on. So we're just starting to hear a lot about those three guys at about the same time that we're hearing Thomas is or Taylor's just not going to he's not going to visit now. So it was just so abrupt, Dan. Why did they all of a sudden stop with this guy? And it's over. It's not like the visit was just delayed, put off. It's over. We're not going to recruit him any longer. And, you know, like I said, it could be an off the field thing. It could be great. But when I see these really big time kids, all of a sudden there's a lot of talk about them. At the same time, we stop recruiting Taylor, and we're not going to recruit him anymore. That says it could just as well be the numbers aren't adding up. We cannot take him, and you would also have to think that he was probably thinking about committing on his visit. So, you know, it's just the possibility that maybe something's going on with even bigger names, and those are the three names that we're hearing the most about right now. It's just interesting to think about what could be going on with that.
No doubt. And while those three names are hard to pronounce, they are big-time players. Two of the linebackers that have been on the radar forever. Tommy Togai, another in a long line of guys west of the Mississippi to play defensive tackle that we've tried to lure in here. But definitely something to keep an eye on. And Taylor is committed to Tennessee, but as we've seen, it does appear Butch Jones is going to get canned, and then it's going to be a free-for-all, people going after that recruiting class. Speaking of a free-for-all, we had something on the boarding house, something on this in the boarding house yesterday. There are many people who believe that Alabama and Ohio State are playing musical quarterbacks here, and that Jarren Williams, the Kentucky commitment, and Emory Jones, the Ohio State commitment, one is going to end up at Alabama, and one is going to end up at Ohio State when all is said and done. That said, would you be bummed out if Ohio State ended up with Jarren Williams instead of Emory Jones?
Not at all. Not at all. I hadn't watched Williams at all. I mean, he was just not on our radar. He was a kid from Georgia that committed to Kentucky, okay, and we didn't recruit him. So I hadn't watched him. When I did, after Steve Wilfong brought him up, I was looking at this kid and I'm going, whoa, that's impressive. He's thrown a whole lot of touchdown passes, very few interceptions, and when you watch him on film, his accuracy is just off the charts. He puts the ball where it needs to be put. Emory Jones is not that kind of accurate. He's got a big arm. Something that just sticks in my head, I can't get rid of it, is watching him throw. You know, everyone was just so irritated that he didn't make the Elite 11. And then you look at some of the simulations they were doing, and he's got no pressure on him, obviously. They've got no pass rush. Just drop back, throw the ball. And he was all over the place. He was throwing the ball all over top of the receiver's head, and it was not fun to watch. Williams is going to come in here, and he's going to throw the ball accurately. That's the thing. You know, he's just quite frankly the better passer of the two. Jones has that ability. He can run the ball. He's probably along the lines of Braxton Miller as far as running the ball is concerned. He's like a back when he tucks it. So you know, it depends on what your cup of tea is, and I want to see the guy back there. I love an athletic quarterback. I think you have to have a certain amount of athleticism. The word pocket passer, that term just makes me cringe because that makes me think about Bernie Kosar. A guy who is just, if somebody breaks through, it's over. Got to have at least enough athleticism to keep a play alive. But, a running quarterback, I don't want that either. So, a guy that can effectively run is one thing. A guy who is a running quarterback, that to me is a different animal. So, if we end up with Williams, if I could swap him out, I would do it. I absolutely would do it.
I'll tell you what's interesting. And I've actually seen this happen before, a long, long time ago. There are people who I think are wondering how Jarren Williams could kind of fly under the radar, as it were, till later in the process. And here's what I think happened. This is the year of the quarterback in Georgia. If you look, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Emory Jones, and Jarren Williams are all from Georgia. And Williams is largely considered to be the fourth-rated prospect. Those schools can't recruit all of them. So Georgia can only recruit one and a half of those guys, really, the way recruiting works. They can't put their allegiances with others. So I think it pushes Williams down the radar a little bit. I actually saw this happen early on in my career with Michael Vick. It was the year of the quarterback in Virginia. He was being recruited heavily, but there was another guy in the state named Ronald Curry who was being recruited more heavily and kind of, I remember the Vic people wouldn't even be recruited by people who recruited Curry. So, Vic came down to Syracuse and Virginia Tech. Syracuse because he was a Donovan McNabb guy. So I think that's what's happening with Williams here. He's just kind of been pushed off the radar. If you watch the Elite 11 video, he made it to the finals, and the coach really wanted to play him over Trevor Lawrence, but didn't look like for TV purposes. So definitely an interesting one to follow. I don't think it's taken center stage yet, but it will after this game this weekend, the battle for a quarterback. And now that we're there, let's talk about it. Duane, a lot has been said. This is the last appearance you will make on the show before Ohio State plays Penn State. I can't think of a bigger regular season game that didn't involve Michigan in recent memory, and that's going back quite some time. What's your vibe on the game? How do you think it's all going to turn out?
Well, I tell you this, it's going to be a great football game. I just think we're on a roll. They're on a roll. As you said, it really is the first playoff game. It's that important. And, I watched Penn State from kickoff to the final gun for the first time. I've seen bits and pieces throughout the year, and the one thing that stands out is imagination. You're going to see wrinkle after wrinkle. They're going to run 10 plays that you haven't seen all year. That's the way it is. You look at the first play, I think it was, in the Michigan game, busted for 75 yards on what amounts to a wildcat play.
Yeah.
But it was a different kind of wildcat play. Throughout the game, I saw just different things. This Moorhead guy, Franklin thinks he's keeping him. He's delusional. The guy's got imagination in his play calling. He's got some weapons. He's got a solid quarterback. I think we may give up more points than we're used to seeing this defense give up. It's just they're going to be doing some things with outstanding talent. It isn't like they're just they're a Maryland who really doesn't have a lot of talent, and they'll run a play they hadn't seen before and get 20 yards. These guys take it to the house. So I think the biggest thing is this could be a high-scoring game. It really could. And the reason is, other than their imaginative, talented offense, is their defense doesn't, I've said this on the message board, their defense can't win the game for them. ours has got a better chance of winning the game for us than theirs does of winning it for them. And that, I think, is going to be a difference. The one thing that we have to do, Dan, is tighten it up on special teams. It seems like we haven't seen a game all year where special teams was solid for the entire game. There's going to be some kind of mess up. So, if the special teams doesn't do anything wrong, doesn't have any bad plays, we got a much better shot at winning this game. And if they do what they've been doing, it's going to impact the game in a negative fashion for us. I think we're the better team. I think we're on a roll because they've got the more elite weapons in, Saquon Barkley's the best back in college football. Come on, and just let's stop it. He's the best back in college football. One of the best backs on the planet. The guy can change the game with one touch. And number 5, I believe his name is Hamilton, the receiver. He's big time.
Mm-hmm.
And McCleary gets the ball
Hamilton.
to him. Yeah. He's really impressed me last weekend. Michigan is a good defensive football team. They're, statistically going into that game, they were number 1. I don't know about that, but it's still a good defensive football team because they rolled up 49 points on. So, and most of it was big plays because Michigan, I believe, had more time of possession than Penn State did in this game. So they just explosive. So it's going to be
how about a final
really
score?
Good. I'm going to say really 35-28 Buckeyes. I think we're going to see some points on the board.
There you have it, Bucknutters. I think if that happened, everyone would be very, very happy. It would send Ohio State into a technically second half of the season in which they will be the favorite to get to the playoffs. Technically, if you go look at Las Vegas, they are right now. We appreciate you stopping by. Have a good one, Bucknutters.